Hello everyone, I'm back from the little break I had. I don't think I'm much better, but you know, I might as well make a video because I was doing videos like daily because I was on Christmas break, and I've now played most of the new Pokemon game, and I'd like to talk about Geeta. Now, for a champion, Geeta is quite underwhelming. If you were comparing it to past champions, she sucks. This is her team in the champion battle, I guess. And well, if you can tell, the team's not exactly the best. So first of all, she has two psychic types. Now granted, that's not exactly the worst type to have, considering it used to be the best type offensively and defensively. But Esperarafa, I think it's called, I don't know how pronounced even, it's not that good. And it's mainly because it's a monotype Pokemon. And monotype Pokemon can be okay, because they don't have the risk of a 4 times weakness. But they get outshunned by dual type Pokemon due to their more offensive capabilities, and with its low base stat total, it's not gonna be that good. And she also has a Go-Goat and an Avalugg, two Gen 6 Pokemon, which I find kind of strange. Like, I feel like they could have done more of a team in terms of making it entirely Paldean Pokemon. Not all champions, use only their region's Pokemon. But the vast majority of them may only have like one of them, I think. I may be wrong. I know Cynthia only uses a Milotic. She uses Sinnoh Pokemon otherwise. Older, he definitely only uses Unova Pokemon. Obviously in the Gen 1 games they only use Kanto Pokemon, and for Johto it's more acceptable seeing as it's a region that's closely related to another region, like that being Kanto. Hoenn Steven does use a Skarmory, but I think that's it. Wallace does use quite a few. He only uses a Tentacle and maybe a Milotic. I'm not entirely sure, but his team is quite good as well in terms of use of the Hoenn Pokemon. And Diantha does use her race is a Gardevoir, however, its Mega was a Gen 6 Pokemon, so that kind of cancels out. And I don't think the Alola champion battles I think they use a few. From memory, they use a Tauros and a Hawlucha. No, they don't use a Hawlucha. They do use a Tauros still, but that's about it. And then an Evolution, so that's 2, which is the same as Geeta. But the problem is Geeta's team is just not good. Like, half of her team are just monotype Pokemon, like with Esperarafa, Go-Goat and Avalugg being monotypes, and the other ones not being as good. The Glamora, which I don't get why it's the ace, because its ability sets up toxic spikes. So, if I were to improve it, I'd make her Kingambit the ace, and her Glamora the first Pokemon she sends out, because it does have a decent base stat total, but if it gets knocked out, it's going to set up toxic spikes, which is a smarter move. Also, the main reason I want to make Kingambit the ace is because its ability, because with it being the last Pokemon sent in, its ability will make it decently strong, I believe. But another Pokemon I think that would work quite well, not as an ace, but because of its ability, Palafin. Because if it uses Flip Turn, and it's sent back into battle, then she then has a 650 base stat total Pokemon. So that would also be a way to improve her team. And there's something I'm also kind of confused about. So Geeta is called the top champion, and her team is most of the team are level 61, with her Glamora being level 62. However, Nemona's team is level 65 in the battle, which is meant to take place shortly after the champion battle. And Nemona's team is significantly better. So granted, now that I'm looking at it, her team does have a lot of monotype Pokemon. However, her Goodra, the Dunsparce and Orthworm, that's not really much of a negative due to Dragon resisting all 3 starter types. The Dunsparce only being weak to fighting types, and Orthworm being a steel type resists more than half of the types, I believe. And Lycanroc is, rock types are kind of fragile to special attacks, and I do have a few weaknesses. However, Lycanroc is kind of speedy, so it should be good. And Porma, somehow not even having a base stat of 500, it's 490 actually. It managed to defeat some of my Pokemon, like multiple, and her Skeledirge is decent as well because Fire Ghost is quite a good type, I believe. Also, a fun thing I think that could be done for Geeta's team is having a different version for a team, with one of the teams having Ceruledge and the other team having Armarouge. Maybe putting them in the different versions of their original games. So Ceruledge would be in Scarlet and Armarouge would be in Violet. So at the moment, the team currently consists of a dark steel type, fire ghost or fire psychic depending on the version, water type due to Palafin, and there's also rock poison from Glamora. And I think a good Pokemon to add on to this, due to its base stat total and typing, would be Toedscruel. Now Toedscruel does have a 4 times ice weakness, but either Armarouge or Ceruledge, depending on the version, would counter that. And I just noticed there's a kind of a fire grass water core, which I think is quite important in the team. And for the last team option, I'm not really too sure what to put in, due to a lot of the 500 plus base stat total Pokemon either overlapping or would just be not as good. And the only one I can really think of without giving her a pseudo, which is what the previous Elite Four member used, is Cyclizar, because Dragon is one of the best types in the game, not the best. I believe Fairy is the best at the moment. And yeah, so I think that was a way to improve her team. And honestly, she kind of sucks. Like, she has less involvement and she's just not as interesting as a character. So, if you were to compare Geeta to Diantha, for example, one of the most hated champions from what I know, because she only has like 2 lines of dialogue. And Geeta has quite a few, but Diantha has like an interesting thing, like, oh, she's a movie star or whatever. So honestly, I do believe she is the worst champion because her team sucks. She's not the strongest due to Nemona being even stronger, and God, she just sucks. I do enjoy the games though. I like more the team star bosses were more interesting than her. Anyways, I've returned from my break. I'm gonna do more uploads and see you next time.